Hello, I'm Dr. Stephen Myers, and today I want to continue part two of asking the question, are the earliest Qumranic manuscripts the same as we have today? And we're just continuing on part two here. The Quranic claims, like especially fundamentalist Muslims, they claim that no two Qur'ans anywhere in the world differ in a single letter, vowel, or dot. And then the other claim, the Qur'an is perfectly preserved from the time of the Prophet Muhammad to now, unlike the Bible. And then there's the ultra-Orthodox view that the Quran is uncreated, pre-eternal, and literal speech of Allah. And this comes from Lecture 2, Dr. Javed Hashmini. And we want to look at those claims. Are they true? Are they all, the Qurans all over the world, exactly the same? And in part one, we dealt with this, that no, they are not. There's a number of different Qurans used. Hafs is the one that's mainly used, but then in Western Africa, they use the Walsh, and there's a few other ones as well. So our first part, you want to look at that for that question. Now we want to look more on is the Quran perfectly preserved from the time of the Prophet Muhammad to today. And we'll look at that at the oldest manuscripts. In part one, we saw that there were 10 canonical Quranic readings that are different, and there's some have totally different meanings. And here is a sample of some of the key ones that show differences. There's over 7,000 word level differences among these 10 Quranic readings, and some show just it may even be contradictory or the opposite, but they accept all of these from Allah and Muhammad. Now these 10 different readings, variant readings, here's what early Muslim scholars did not look at the variant readings of the Quran as divine revelation. They attributed the Quranic variances to human origins or errors. This position changed drastically in later periods, especially the 5th to the 11th century, where the canonical readings started to be treated as divine revelation. Every single variant reading was revealed by God to Muhammad. So we see this big change here. The early scholars thought these are errors, these are variant readings, they're not right, they're just human origins, to accepting these all. That's how they solve the problem of these variants and errors. You just accept them all. They all came from God and Muhammad. It looks like I need my glasses for this here. Here's the standard view here that comes from Sadi al-Bukhari. This is a hadith, which is second in importance to the Quran. And here we learn that Uthman feared that a large part of the Quran may be lost with the death of many Hafiz memorizers in the Battle of Yamamam. So he ordered a collection of the Quran. And then we have Uthman's standardization of the Quran. Due to differences in the recitation of the Quran, Uthman sent a message to Hafsa, send us manuscripts of the Quran so that we may combine them, compile them, and make perfect copies. After compiling the master copy, Uthman ordered that all other manuscripts and variances be burned to prevent further differences. And that's in Saudi Bakara. You can see it here. And on page, let's see, 479, I'll see if I can read a little bit about that. After that, it says, Sadi bin Thabit added, a verse from the Surat Azab was missed by me when we copied the Qur'an, and I used to hear Allah's apostle reciting it. So we searched for it and found it, and it was, among the believers are men who have been true in their covenant with Allah. And that would be in the Qur'an, Surah 33:23. So he forgot one, and they had to add one back in there, according to Saudi Bakara. According to Aisha, this was Muhammad's wife, roughly 2/3 of Surah 33 was lost. Then in Saudi Muslim, another hadith, very important, Abu Musa said that the early Muslims forgot 2 surahs due to laziness. That's volume 2, page 510. Then in Sunnah Ibn Majab, number 1944, it was narrated that Aisha said the verse of stoning and of the breastfeeding of adults 10 times was revealed, and the paper was with me under my pillow. When the messenger of Allah died, we were preoccupied with his death, and a tame sheep came in and ate it. It's like saying the dog ate my homework, only in this case it was the sheep that ate it. A verse concerning stoning, I think that refers to if you're caught in adultery, you were stoned to death. And the breastfeeding of adults, well, I just don't want to touch that one. Here we want to look at the oldest manuscripts. Here's the 5 most important Quranic manuscripts. We have the Birmingham manuscript on the left there, and it contains about surahs 18 to 20. And so that's a very important manuscript in the Aziz script. Then we have the Sanaa Palimpsest. Now, the Palimpsest means what they did is they would erase a parchment, a manuscript, and then reuse it and write over it. And the palimpsest is the reading underneath what they erased. That's much earlier. And so we have a much earlier Qur'an that was erased, but they can still see some of it. And with special photography, they can see most of it. And this is a very interesting one that we want to take a look at. And then Persuno Metropolis, it's in Paris. It has 45% of the Qur'an. Then the Topkapi manuscript, it has 99% of the Qur'an, so we want to take a special look at that one. And then the Samarkand one there in Uzbekistan, in large Kufic script. So these are the 5 main ones, and we want to look particularly at number 2 and number 4, the Sanaa Palimpsest and the Topkapi manuscript. So we want to first look at the Sanaa Palimpsest manuscript here, and you can see it there on the right. And there's the dark print is what was written over the erased one below. It's very faint. You can see what's below it, and they tried to erase it and wrote over it. In 1972, construction workers renovating a wall in the attic of the Great Mosque of Sanaa in Yemen Arab Republic, came across large quantities of old manuscripts and parchments, many of which were deteriorated. Not realizing their significance, the workers gathered up the documents, packed them away into some 20 potato sacks, and left them on the staircase of one of the mosque minarets. And here you can see at least part of the minaret there of the great mosque of Sanaa in Yemen. Here we have a chart showing some of the key differences between the Sanaa Palimpsest and the Hafs Qur'an, which many use. And my eyesight isn't that good. Let's go down in number 5. Then an angel called to her from beneath her. That's Sanaa. And then in the Hafs, it says, then he called to her from beneath. So you have he calling. I'm not sure who the he is. Could be God. But in the Sanaa, it's an angel. And then right below it, 6, it says, permission is given to those who fight. Hafs, permission is given to those who are fought against. So it seems to be changing it quite a bit there. Number 7, do not enter houses other than your own until you ask permission and greet their inhabitants. And then Hafs, do not enter houses other than your own until you ascertain, welcome, and greet their inhabitants. So those are a couple of differences. You can see more of those there. But here we have clear differences from one of the earliest manuscripts. I want to highlight this one book here. It's called the Sanaa Palimpsest by Asma, Hilali. Let's see if you can see it there. This is a key book, and it goes through the differences here. Let's see if we can get it there. And there's like 16 pages of differences between the Sanaa Palimpsest and the Hafs there. And this is 2 of the pages there. But there's a number of pages showing the differences. And then you can go through and see the different pages here. If I can, another page there showing differences. But this is a key book if you want to look at it for the differences in the manuscripts between Hafs and the Palimpsest. Very interesting to study. Here's an overall summary of the Sanaa Palimpsest versus the Hafs. There's approximately 60 to 80 places containing word changes that noticeably affect the meaning and emphasis of the passage. And we can see there's other hundreds of orthographic, spelling, grammar, word order changes, synonyms, added words, omitted words, different verb tenses, singular, plural, different pronouns, verse division differences, different surah orders. So the surahs are not all in the same order. So this is a nice summary of that. There are thousands of changes, and this sort of breaks it down for you. And I want to go to the next manuscript that we want to talk about is the Topkapi Qur'an manuscript, located in the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul, Turkey. And here's the entrance to the palace. I visited there. Very interesting to see if you're ever in Istanbul. And I want to take sort of like a little rabbit trail here and see part of the Topkapi Palace. On the right here, we have the entranceway into, I guess you'd say, the courtroom for the ruler here. And then there's on the left, I don't know if it's a guard or a greeter, what they would look like. Everyone coming into the palace there. Here we have on the right the entranceway into the room of circumcision. And then on the left, if I remember correctly, that's where the circumcision took place. On the right here we have the harem. Of course, you weren't supposed to go in there, but you get a very beautiful view out on from the palace there. Here's another view from the palace. My son was with me on this trip here, and you get another very beautiful view there. Here we have the Conqueror's Pavilion, which houses the Imperial Treasury. And so they have a museum in there where there's all sorts of interesting things, and so we'll take a quick look at that. Here are some of the biblical artifacts. Of course, it's very questionable about if these are the real ones or not. But on the far left, we have Moses' staff. And then we have the sword of David. Of course, this looks like more like an Islamic sword than it does an ancient one. And then you have Joseph's robe of many colors. And then you have this pot here. It's supposed to be the pot where he hosted and served the three angels that came to Abraham. And then you have the arm bone of the John the Baptist there in the case. And then the last one is supposed to be the prophet Daniel. I'm not sure what in the world that's supposed to be, but it's supposed to be related to the prophet Daniel. Here are sacred relics of the Prophet Muhammad. And in the top left-hand corner is the cloak that Muhammad wore, supposedly. And then we have the standard. We have some swords, bows. And then the far right, his ring. And then in the middle row, you have the footprint of Muhammad in stone. And then the next one, you have a hair from the beard of Muhammad. And then the other one's a tooth of Muhammad. And then some writings. And then the last row on the far left, you have the sandals of Muhammad, water vessel, drinking vessel. And then there's Quranic manuscripts. And we want to take a look at Topkapi manuscript. Here are some of the gemstones, a lot of gemstones there, very beautiful. And it's very interesting to see all these gemstones. And then there's a Qur'an with a cover with beautiful gemstones. And now let's look at the manuscript, the Topkapi, or some pronounce it Topkapi manuscript. And it is one of the earliest and most complete surviving copies of the Qur'an. It contains over 99% of the Quranic text and is traditionally, though controversially amongst modern scholarships, attributed to the Caliph Uthman. And supposedly there's a blood stain on it there. That's Uthman's blood. But modern scholars seriously doubt this. However, a recent study by Professor Rami Hussein Halasith indicates that attributing the Topkapi manuscript to Uthman, or claiming it's a production during the 1st and 7th century, is historically inaccurate. It doesn't belong to Uthman, according to this professor. The paleographic assessment indicates that the Topkapi manuscripts come closest to those writings that date back to the 8th century. Hilali also shows that based on paleography of the manuscript, folios 2R through 6V and 11 seem to have been created by another hand and added to the manuscript at a much later stage. This comes from Wikipedia. And let's look further at this. There's a very interesting study done by him, the Topkapi Qur'an manuscript HS32. And here's the book. You can see it okay. And here he lists 2,442 differences with the Hafs Qur'an. And I just want to show you here. Here's two of the pages here. If you can see it there. And then at the very bottom here, it gives the 2,442 different, the ending here. And has a number of pages listing all 2,422 differences. Not only that, but there's pictures. I'm going to show you a page here too. It shows the picture here, and then here's what it says there, showing the differences on the page, all the different pages here of the differences with this photocopy there of what it is in the original manuscript, so you know what it says and the differences. So this is a very important book on the Topkapi manuscript, showing all the differences between the Hafs Qur'an today. Here we have a summary of the key differences and similarities. There's spelling differences, missing diacritical dots, missing vowel marks, verse numbering different, surah titles, different word order, variations, scribal corrections, orthographic variances, Quranic compatibility, and very few important variances. So this is very interesting summary of the Topkapi manuscript compared to Hafs. Let's look back at the Quranic claims. No two Qur'ans anywhere in the world differed in a single letter, vowel, or dot. And we see that's not true. There are variances. There are differences. Looking at the oldest manuscripts. The Qur'an is perfectly preserved from the time of the Prophet Muhammad to now. No, that's not true. We can see from these old manuscripts they aren't perfectly preserved. There are a number of differences. The Topkapi has 2,442 differences. So these claims are not true. In review, we want to look over the Quranic resources that you can go and search yourself here. Here we have the 10 readings of the Tajweed Qur'an here. Got it upside down here. Here we go. And then at the top here we have the Hafs, and then all around it, all the different 10 different readings and the differences, and they're color coded. And you can get that online. Then I also referred to Saadi El-Bukhari, and this book, I like this volume series because it also has the English right next to the Arabic, which makes it a lot easier for me. Then we have corrections in the early manuscripts by Daniel Brubaker, and he goes through and he shows the different corrections on other manuscripts that he studied. And then we have Textual Criticism, the Qur'an manuscripts by Keith Small. Early Islam, Critical Reconstruction It's a thick book here. Then the ones that we cover today, the Sanaa Palimpsest, very important book here, and the Topkapi Qur'an, and then another one we have Creating the Qur'an by Stephen Shoemaker. And this is very interesting in how he thinks it was all compiled and put together. And then I have my book. It's a very short booklet on insights with Islam. My son helped me with the first part of it. And that summarizes a lot of what I've been saying here. And we'll be doing some more videos on this. So glad that you could watch it. If you like it, subscribe because more are coming. Ring that bell, and we'll get you some more videos about Islam.